You will be surprised at the number of buyers that have lost their homes due to their inability to close the transaction on the closing dates because they didn't budget for the additional closing costs required to purchase the property. In today's session, we're going to be understanding how we can calculate or estimate the total upfront costs required to be able to purchase your dream property in Ontario, Canada, especially if you are a first-time home buyer. Welcome to Ontario Real Estate Channel, your go-to channel for everything real estate in Ontario, Canada, and beyond. So whether you're buying, selling, investing, leasing, or just curious in general about the real estate market in Canada, this is your place to be. We're not just talking about real estate insights, but also bringing you everything that impacts on your wallet, your lifestyle, and your financial freedom. For the purpose of this discussion and for the sake of simplified calculations, we're going to be using the property around the price points of $500,000 and $800,000. But feel free to reach out for your customized calculation where I will be tailoring the calculation to specifically work for you and to meet your objectives. If you are looking to purchase your property anytime soon, my recommendation would be for you to work with a real estate agent that knows how to calculate the numbers. Don't bother to look too far. I'm here for you. Contact me and I will give you your own custom estimates and your own strategy tailored to meet your specific needs and goals. Now let's dive right into it. The first cost that we're going to be looking at is the down payment. Down payment is the total amount that you put down towards the purchase of the property. This is different from minimum down payment. Minimum down payment is the minimum amount that you are allowed to put down towards the purchase of your property. Many buyers opt to go with the minimum down payment approach because sometimes it requires high amount of money to be saved to be able to make a huge down payment. So a lot of buyers opt to go the route of minimum down payment. Now in Canada, to calculate the minimum down payment is on a tiered approach, which means that the minimum down payment that you're allowed to put down for your property depends on the value of the property or the purchase price of that property. So if the property is $500,000 or less, the minimum down payment will be calculated at 5% of $500,000 or less. So 5% of $500,000 would be $25,000. So minimum down payments required for a property that is $500,000 is $25,000. Now the minimum down payments required for a property of $800,000 is calculated as 5% of the first $500,000 and 10% of the remaining amount on top. So for $800,000, it means 10% of the remaining $300,000, which is going to give us $30,000. So the total minimum down payment required to purchase an $800,000 property is $25,000, which is the 5% of $500,000 plus $30,000, and that gives us $55,000. Now here is where a lot of buyers make mistakes. They just stop here. Oh, I need $25,000 to be able to purchase a property without factoring in the extra cost that comes in. And at the end of the day, during the closing date, they meet the shockers of their lives. Don't be that buyer. Talk to me. The next cost that we are going to be considering is the mortgage loan insurance. Mortgage loan insurance is the insurance that the lender requires you to buy if you are putting down a down payment that is less than 20%. So if you are putting down the minimum down payment, as we have mentioned here, the lender would need you to buy a mortgage loan insurance. The essence of the mortgage loan insurance is to protect the lender in the event that you're unable to pay back your mortgage. So the mortgage loan insurance does not protect you. Rather, it protects the lender. Now, to calculate mortgage loan insurance is again done using a tiered approach. If the loan to value is 95%, loan to value means what is the loan that you're taking, the percentage of the mortgage that you're taking in comparison to the purchase price of the property that you are buying. If you're putting down 5% towards your down payment, it means that the loan that you're looking to get from your lender is 95%, right? So for a 95% loan to value, the mortgage loan insurance will be calculated at 4%. If the loan to value is 90 to 95%, the mortgage loan insurance will be calculated at 3.1%. And if the loan to value is 85 to 90%, the mortgage loan insurance will be calculated at 2.8%. So we can have another session to break all of this down, but for now, let's focus on the mortgage loan insurance for the properties that we're using for this example, which are properties on $500,000 and $800,000. So for $500,000, the minimum down payment is $25,000, which means $500 minus $25,000. That would leave us with $475,000 times 4%, which would be $19,000. So the mortgage loan insurance premium for a $500,000 property where the minimum down payment of 5% was put down, the mortgage loan insurance premium would be $19,000. Now, this $19,000 is not required for you to pay upfront. Instead, it is added to the final mortgage amount that you are taking for the purchase of the property. This means that the $19,000 will be added to the $475,000, and that would form your full mortgage amount that you are required to pay back throughout the amortization period of this mortgage. Again, we can have another session to discuss this. Let's just focus on how to estimate the upfront costs required to purchase a property in Ontario, especially for first-time home buyers. In the same way, the mortgage loan insurance for an $800,000 property where the minimum down payment has been put down, you are going to have $800 minus $55,000, which is going to leave us with $745,000 times 3.1%. And that would give us $12,095 as the mortgage loan insurance. Again, this mortgage loan insurance will then be added to the mortgage amount to form the total mortgage amount which will be required to pay back throughout the amortization period of that mortgage. So we're going to put the $12,095 here. This will not be added to the upfront payment. It will just be added to the loan amount to form your total mortgage amount. Okay? The next cost that we need to consider is the land transfer tax. Now, this is the tax that you pay to the government for using the land to host your property. That's the simplest way I can do this. So, typically, land transfer tax is usually called LTT, land transfer tax. It is calculated using a tiered approach, which means the higher the purchase price, the higher the land transfer tax. So for $500,000 property, the typical land transfer tax that we are seeing is $6,475. And for an $800,000 property, the typical land transfer tax would be around $12,475. Okay, so one thing to mention here is if you are a first-time home buyer, you may qualify to get a portion of the land transfer tax back. But this is dependent on some eligibility terms and conditions that the lawyer will be able to explain to you in detail. And usually we see eligible first-time home buyers are able to get back up to $4,000 out of this amount. But we're not going to be taking that out in this calculation because we want to see like the holistic picture of what the upfront cost will look like without factoring in any form of rebates or discounts. Okay, so the next tax that we're going to be looking at is the legal fees. Legal fees. So the legal fees is the amount that you're going to be paying the lawyer that would help you to handle the transaction closing, checking the title, ensuring that all the I's are dotted and all the T's are crossed. So you're going to have to pay the lawyer for the services. We estimate this to be around $1,200 to $1,800. So here I'm just going to be using $1,800. Okay, so the next fee that we're going to be looking at is appraisal fee. Appraisal has to do with hiring a professional appraiser to come and assess the value of the property and be sure that the market value of that property is at par with the purchase price that you're offering to buy the property. Many lenders require for an appraisal to be done so that they are sure that they're not investing an amount that is higher than the actual market value of the property. Sometimes the lenders cover the appraisal cost, but in case you find yourself working with a lender who doesn't cover the appraisal cost, we are estimating the appraisal fee to be around $500 to $700. For the purpose of this calculation, I'm just going to be using $700. The next cost that we're going to be looking at is home inspection. Home inspection is about hiring a professional home inspector to come to the property that you are about to purchase and assess the property by looking out for possible latent defects or material defects. While this is not a mandatory fee, it is highly recommended because an untrained eyes may not be able to see material defects in a property, and at the end of the day, if you purchase any property that happens to have some form of structural defect, a transaction that is meant to be a beautiful thing in your life could easily turn out to be a financial disaster. We don't want to be in that situation. Again, while this is not a mandatory fee, it is highly recommended for you to include the home inspection as a condition in your agreement of purchase and sale. So we estimate the fee for home inspection to be around $700. Now the next cost that we're going to be looking at will be the property tax adjustment cost. Now this cost doesn't come up with every purchase. You would only see this cost in your adjustments breakdown if the seller of that property already paid the property tax for that property for that year. So what your lawyer is going to do is to make some adjustments and prorate the taxes that were already paid on that property up to the date that you are taking possession of the property. So that way you'll be reimbursing the seller some credits to cover for the remaining part of the year where you're going to be taking possession of the property. It is very important to mention that while I'm going to be estimating this at $800, the actual amount depends on the actual value of the property tax on the property that you are purchasing. The final cost we'll be considering here today is the title insurance cost. When someone says what's the title on the property, talking about the ownership of the property, who owns that property. So the title insurance is an insurance that protects ownership claims issue, any form of issues that may be associated to the ownership of that property. We usually estimate this cost to be around $350. With this, you can now see that the upfront cost to buy a home doesn't just start and stop with the down payment. All these other costs need to be factored in for you to know that you're fully ready to successfully close the transaction on closing date. Now let's add up all of these costs to give us that final figure that we need to be looking at when we are making purchases of properties around $500,000 or $800,000. Remember, we are excluding this one because we are going to be adding this one into the mortgage amount, and this will be paid back as part of the total mortgage amount. So if we add all of this together, the total upfront cost you would need to save up to be able to purchase a property of $500,000 is $35,825. And the total upfront cost required to be able to purchase a property of $800,000 is $71,822. Just to reiterate, all of these figures are estimated figures. To get the actual calculations for the exact purchase price of the property that you want to buy, feel free to DM me and I will create a custom calculated total upfront cost for you, and also come up with a custom strategy that would help you reach your specific goals and objectives and get you your dream property in a seamless and a pain-free way. If you have learned anything new here today, please give me a thumb up. It is free, it doesn't cost you anything, but it encourages me to churn out more valuable videos like this that may be beneficial to you, your family, or your friends, and could save you thousands of dollars. Please remember to subscribe to my channel. I aim to release new videos every week, and also follow me on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. Thank you, and I'll see you on the next one.